Mapping your emotional triggers. Lisa's having a good day. For the first time in 3 weeks since her cat Muffin passed away, she's actually getting things done. She's answered emails, done some laundry, even managed to eat a real lunch. Then she walks into the kitchen, and there it is. The automatic feeder she forgot to put away, still plugged in, still set to dispense food at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. The grief hits her like a truck. One moment she was fine. The next, she's on the kitchen floor sobbing so hard she can't breathe. I was doing so well, she tells me later. I don't understand why something so small can knock me down like that. If you've experienced something similar, those sudden ambushes of grief that seem to come out of nowhere, today's lesson is for you. Because grief doesn't actually come out of nowhere. It has patterns. It has triggers. And once you understand those triggers, you can prepare for them. You can be gentle with yourself when they hit. And most importantly, you can stop feeling ambushed by your own emotions. Creating your emotional weather map. In our first lesson, we established that your grief is sacred. Today, we're going to get practical. We're going to map the landscape of your grief so you can navigate it with more awareness and less surprise. Think of this like creating a weather map of your emotions. When you know a storm is coming, you can prepare. You can take shelter. You can be gentle with yourself instead of being caught off guard. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a clear understanding of your personal grief triggers and a powerful technique for managing those overwhelming moments when they hit. Understanding grief triggers. Let's start by understanding what grief triggers actually are. A grief trigger is anything that suddenly brings your loss into sharp focus and activates your grief response. It could be physical objects, like Lisa's automatic feeder, time of day, like when you used to walk them, locations, like the vet's office or their favorite park, sounds, like a dog barking or a can opener, smells, like their shampoo or favorite treat, special dates, an anniversary or holiday, unexpected reminders, even something as simple as seeing another pet on the street. Triggers are not your fault. Here's what's important to understand. Triggers aren't your fault. They're not a sign that you're weak or that you're not healing properly. Triggers are actually your brain's way of honoring the importance of your relationship with your pet. Your brain created strong neural pathways around all the experiences you shared. When something activates those pathways, your grief response gets triggered too. It's actually a sign of how deeply you loved them. But here's the thing. When we don't understand our triggers, they can feel overwhelming and unpredictable. We start to feel like we're walking through a minefield, never knowing when we might step on something that will explode our emotions. That's why mapping them is so important. The most common grief triggers. Research shows that pet loss grief tends to have some very specific trigger patterns. Let me walk you through the most common ones so you can start recognizing them in your own experience. Time-based triggers. Many people find that certain times of day are especially difficult. Morning, when you'd normally let them out or feed them. Evening, when you'd come home to their greeting. Bedtime, when they'd curl up next to you. There's also what I call the quiet house trigger. When the normal sounds of life die down, usually at night, that's when the absence of their sounds becomes most noticeable. No paws on the floor, no snoring, no jingling collar. The silence can be deafening. Location triggers. These are equally powerful. Their favorite sleeping spot, the corner where their food bowls were, the vet's office, even your car, if that's where you last held them. Routine triggers. These catch people off guard, reaching for their leash automatically, setting out 2 food bowls instead of 1, looking for them when you come home. Your brain is still running the old program, and when reality doesn't match, grief rushes in. Holiday and anniversary triggers. These are particularly intense. Their birthday, the anniversary of their passing, the first Christmas without them. These dates can feel loaded with sadness before they even arrive. Unexpected triggers. Things you never saw coming. A commercial on TV, a song on the radio, someone else's pet who reminds you of yours. These can feel the most overwhelming because you can't prepare for them. The guilt spiral that follows. Here's where triggers become even more complicated. It's not just the initial grief that's hard. It's what happens next. Most people experience what I call the grief-guilt spiral. It goes like this. First, you get triggered and feel overwhelming sadness. Then, almost immediately, you start judging yourself for having that reaction. I should be over this by now. It's been weeks, months. Why am I still falling apart? I was doing so well. Now I feel like I'm back to square one. Other people must think I'm crazy for still being upset. This guilt and self-judgment actually makes the grief worse. Now, you're not just sad about your pet, you're also angry at yourself for being sad. It's like having an injury and then beating yourself up for limping. The self-attack prolongs the pain and slows down healing. And here's the thing, grief isn't linear. It doesn't follow a neat timeline where you feel a little better each day until you're over it. Grief comes in waves. Even when you're healing beautifully, a trigger can bring up intense emotions. That's not a step backward. That's just how grief works. Understanding this can help you be more compassionate with yourself when triggers hit. The gentle witness technique. Now I want to teach you a powerful technique for managing triggers when they happen. I call it the gentle witness technique. When you get triggered and that wave of grief hits, instead of fighting it or judging it, you're going to practice being a gentle witness to your own experience. The gentle witness technique, step by step. Here's how it works. Name what's happening. Instead of getting swept away by the emotion, gently observe it. Say to yourself, I notice I'm feeling triggered right now. I'm having a grief response. Locate it in your body. Where do you feel the grief physically? Tight chest? Stomach ache? Difficulty breathing? Just notice without trying to change it. Breathe with it. Take slow, gentle breaths. You're not trying to make the feeling go away. You're just breathing with it, like you would sit with a friend who's crying. Offer yourself compassion. This is the most important step. Say something kind to yourself, like, this is really hard right now. It makes sense that I'm feeling this way. This grief is here because I love them so much. Give it time and space. Don't rush to fix the feeling or distract yourself immediately. Let it be there for a few minutes. Grief that's witnessed with compassion tends to move through more quickly than grief that's fought or judged. This technique doesn't make the trigger go away, but it changes your relationship with it. Instead of being terrorized by your own emotions, you become a compassionate observer. Creating your trigger map. The final piece is creating your personal trigger map. This is like creating an emotional GPS system for your grief journey. You're going to identify your specific triggers so you can prepare for them when possible. Recognize them quickly when they hit. Respond with self-compassion instead of self-judgment. Some triggers you'll be able to plan for. If you know their birthday is coming up, you can arrange extra support for that day. If you know driving past the vet's office is hard, you can take a different route until you're ready. Other triggers will be unexpected, but recognizing them quickly helps you respond with the gentle witness technique instead of getting overwhelmed. Your trigger map will also evolve over time. Some triggers that are intense now may become gentler as you heal, and sometimes new triggers will emerge as you encounter new experiences without your pet. That's all normal. The map is a living document that grows with your healing. Summary. Let's recap what we've covered today. Grief triggers are anything that suddenly activates your grief response. They're normal and actually a sign of how much you loved your pet. Common triggers include specific times, places, routines, anniversaries, and unexpected reminders. The guilt spiral that often follows triggers can actually prolong suffering. Understanding this helps you be more compassionate with yourself. The gentle witness technique gives you a way to respond to triggers with awareness and self-compassion instead of resistance. Creating your personal trigger map helps you navigate grief with more preparation and less surprise. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all triggers or to stop having grief responses. The goal is to understand your patterns so you can move through them with more grace and less self-judgment. Clear action step. Your action step for today has two parts. Part 1. Complete the trigger identification worksheet. I want you to spend some time really thinking about your specific triggers. Use the worksheet in your course materials to map out times of day that are hardest, places that bring up grief, objects that trigger memories, sounds, smells, or other sensory triggers, routine moments when you miss them most. Be as specific as possible. The more detailed your map, the more helpful it will be. Part 2. Practice the gentle witness technique. The next time you feel triggered, and it will happen, try using the 5 steps we practiced. Name what's happening. Locate it in your body. Breathe with it. Offer yourself compassion. Give it time and space. Don't worry about doing it perfectly. Just try it. Even attempting to witness your grief with gentleness instead of judgment is a huge step forward. Tomorrow, we'll talk about breaking the isolation cycle that often accompanies pet loss grief. But for today, remember this. Your triggers aren't the enemy. They're signposts pointing to the depth of your love. When they hit, you have a choice. You can fight them and judge yourself, which prolongs the pain, Or you can witness them with gentleness, which allows them to move through you more naturally. Your pet would want you to be gentle with yourself. They loved you unconditionally. Now it's time to love yourself the same way. I'll see you in the next lesson.